Well, good evening and welcome back to episode 24 of True Crime with the Bad Girl and the Playa. I am Benny Scala, aka the Playa. Now, my partner, she needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. She is a New England Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer. She is Archie's mom. And last but not least, she is a great reporter of true crime. To quote Men at Work, who could it be now? It can only be the bad girl, Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you?
I am doing pretty well this week. How about you?
I'm doing great. And we have a special guest coming back.
So,
The True
so
Crime
I
Dog, Miss
see.
Bree.
It's
She
the
wanted to show
True
off her new.
Crime mascot.
She wanted to show off her new grooming. Very pretty.
Hi, Bree. You look
Hi, Bree.
adorable.
Hello. So, folks, before we get into the show, we got to pay some bills here, so bear with me. If you've been injured in a car accident, please reach out to our good friend Adam Burbrower at the Burbrower Law Firm. Adam and his crew do things the right way with great results. Now, not only is Adam a great attorney, but the dude has framed pictures of Ernie Ladd and Johnny Rods in his office. I mean, how cool is that? So if you see Adam at the community pool trying to nail a triple Lindy, you'll notice superstar Billy Graham tattooed on his back and Bret the Hitman Hart on his chest. Man, that is a wrestling fan. The guy is not only the man of the hour, the man with the legal power, too sweet to be sour, he is also the excellence of elocution. And besides being a great guy, Adam is a true crime aficionado and an avid WWF historian. Who else can get you a great settlement while breaking down great matches from Mighty Joe Thunder, if you can find one? So check out Adam at burbrowerlaw.com and follow him on Facebook. And don't forget to tell him that the bad girl and the Playa sent you. So I even wrote a little poem for him. If you've been in an auto wreck and you know you deserve a big old check, go see the man more brilliant than a meteor shower, the one and only Adam Burbrower. I think I should keep my day job. But
No,
anyway,
I love it. Good job.
Well, bad girl, tonight we're going to wrap up the Delphi murder trial. And last week we covered a lot of the background of the case. And for those of you who missed it last week, or are living under a rock, because I mean this is everywhere. The news of this crime, this tragedy. Libby German and Abby Williams, two teenage girls, were tragically murdered on February 13th, day before Valentine's Day, 2017, close to the Monon High Bridge in the small town of Delphi, Indiana. And it took over 5.5 years before a local, Richard Allen, was arrested in October of 2022, and almost another two years before it went to trial. And on Monday afternoon, the jury reached the verdict. Bad girl. Why don't you fill in the listeners on the outcome, as well as your opinion? Did they get it right?
Well, the outcome is guilty. In my opinion, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm surprised it wasn't deadlocked. I see many, many things that say yes, and I see many, many things that are just circumstantial. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. And do I think he was bridge guy, Richard Allen? Yes, I do. But, do I think that the prosecution, the state, did they connect the dots and, convincingly prove to me that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? To me, absolutely not. I'm with you there. And I made a note that if Richard Allen's attorney was Alan Jackson, the rock star defense attorney for Karen Reed, we have a different outcome here, don't you think?
100%.
Either he gets off, or it's at the very worst, it's a hung jury.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
And Brittany, like the last couple of cases where we covered Karen Reed, there was never a point where I thought that Karen Reed was going to be convicted. I thought she was either going to be, found not guilty, or what actually happened, that the case the jury was hung. And with Sarah Boone, I had no doubt whatsoever that she was going to be convicted. I mean, it took them an hour and a half, and that's after they ate their Applebee's, the cedar plank salmon, and then it probably took them 5 minutes to deliberate.
Right.
They just wanted to make it look like they deliberated at least for a little bit, but they knew. I think they all knew the minute they walked into that jury room, this one's guilty. But this one, I never once thought, well, they're going to get him. When I heard the verdict, I was absolutely shocked. And
it's not what I expected.
Yeah. Now, here's what I was talking to Mike Monty on the phone right before we started here, and this is what I told him, and I want to get your opinion on this. Here we go. I mean, obviously a tragedy. I mean, two young girls, one 14, one 13, killed the day before Valentine's Day. Two close friends, had a day off, didn't want to sit around and play video games or do whatever. Why they decided to, do this bridge is beyond me. But well, hey, whatever, right?
Right.
But I don't even know how to say it here. I actually lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. I remember now. I think, with all the time that has passed now, Libby would have been 22. And probably, I think, a senior in college. Abby would have been 21, a junior in college. These girls had their whole lives ahead of them. I mean, they missed prom and they missed, high school graduation. They missed college. It took 5.5 years, which it shouldn't have. We'll get into that in a little bit. To bring this case to actually arrest somebody. It takes another 2 years for it to actually go to trial. Now, I mean, after 8 years, does anybody want this case to go on anymore? Do you know what I mean? They got somebody.
I would hope not.
Yeah, they got somebody who said that he did it. You have parents, two sets of parents who have grieved for almost 8 years. Do you really want to put them through any more? And I'm not saying that that's a reason to convict anybody, but I think that came into play here. I just do.
I agree, sadly, but I agree with you 100% on I don't think they had enough to convict. So I'm very surprised. I'm still almost speechless, which is difficult for me.
Yeah, me too. That's a rarity. That's like me saying I'm not hungry. If I ever said that, I think somebody would call 911 immediately.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not hungry. No, I don't feel like watching wrestling tonight. Are you okay? Or if somebody walked into my bedroom and it was 9:01 a.m. and I was asleep, I wouldn't be asleep. I'd be dead because I would never sleep that late. But, it's really funny. The state attorney, Nick McClellan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he said in his closing argument that Bridge Guy is the person who killed Libby and Abby. Richard Allen is Bridge Guy. So, even if you can prove, and I don't even believe that they proved conclusively that Richard Allen was Bridge Guy. They never proved that Bridge Guy was the killer. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They focused on this Bridge Guy like that was it. I mean, there was nobody else, but there was never any evidence that said that Bridge Guy was the killer. There could have been there were other people at the bridge that day.
Right. And what they're doing is they're saying Richard Allen, we believe, is Bridge Guy.
Correct.
Well, to me, we believe isn't enough to convict. And to further that one more step, where is the proof that Bridge Guy is the guy that actually killed them?
Correct.
Like we know that based on that video and that voice recording, we are pretty sure that Bridge Guy is the killer. We don't know it. We don't have proof of it. And we don't have proof of who Bridge Guy is.
Right. I mean, there is strong evidence, and thank God Libby had the foresight to use her phone and record Bridge Guy. And you hear very succinctly or very distinctly, hey, girls, down the hill. So, that, I could kind of make that connection that the guy, but maybe, maybe the guy was just worried for the girls and he, down the hill, this is dangerous. I mean, we showed the graphic last week of that bridge. That
Yeah.
was not like a couple of feet in the air. I mean, that thing was, I think, almost 700 feet in the air.
Thanks.
And there was there was no guardrails or anything like that.
No. Crazy. Talk
I'm
about a
gonna
liability.
Bree's getting fidgety here. I'm gonna.
Okay. That happens.
Yeah, I think she wants to go watch Tom and Jerry. She likes them.
Blame her.
Yeah, I like them too. But yeah, I mean, um, just there's just so much still speculation. But when the state did their closing argument, they had four huge points or four main points. One, which is true, Richard Allen put himself on the bridge that day. He did call. He called.
Right.
I think it was the DNR, the Parks and Recreation, which I guess was looking for leads of who was at the bridge that day. And he said he was on the bridge that day. So that cannot be disputed. There was a bullet found on the scene, and that a search warrant of Allen's home found clothing like bridge guys, and then there were the confessions. So it's some good stuff, but to me, like each one of those things, there is mitigating factors.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not on the fact that he was there, that one, but the bullet, I don't think they conclusively proved that bullet. I mean, because like the defense said, it was apples and oranges. You had an unspent round, and you compared it to fired rounds, and it's like apples and oranges.
Exactly.
You know,
And the fact that, okay, he had a gun that matches that bullet would fit inside of it. In other words,
right,
how many other people in that town, just in that town alone, have a gun that matches that bullet?
right, correct. Yeah, it's a
So,
very
like you
common
said,
gun.
it's not a spent round. So basically it should be tossed out.
Right. And now the Brian Harshman of the Indiana State Police, he stated that the voice of Bridge Guy is Richard Allen. Harshman has listened to over 700 of Allen's phone calls. But, I mean, I would have liked if they maybe brought like 3 people that work with him at CVS. Oh, yeah, that was Richard, and then I would have been more inclined to believe, well, this guy, he's worked with these guys for years, and they're saying it's him. That would have been a little bit more compelling. They didn't do that. They now they did do they did a certain when they searched his home, they found what they called a bridge guy starter kit. They found a jacket very similar to that worn by the bridge guy, and they found the firearm. But I mean, a dark jacket. I mean, who doesn't have a dark jacket? And I'm sure in Indiana, a lot of people have guns.
Sure.
And I believe it was a very common gun.
Yeah. I mean, lots of people have a gun that would use that size bullet, that caliber bullet. Lots of people have a dark jacket. I believe he had jeans on, right? Who doesn't wear jeans?
Right.
And, I believe he had a cap on as well. And, what, half the population wears those?
Right. And the footage is very grainy. And here's the thing.
Very.
There were supposedly many people at the bridge that day. If they brought up a couple of people who, brought them up as witnesses for the state, and, they said, can you describe Bridge Guy? And, they described him. Is he here in the courtroom today? Yes, he is. Can you point to him? Yes, that's him right there. I mean, that would have been compelling to me.
100%.
Then I'm thinking, okay, they have people, people who were there that day that is saying, yes, that guy is Bridge Guy. But, au contraire, I mean, when you listen to some of the descriptions, and let me do this real quick. So this was the initial artist depiction of the Bridge Guy. And we showed this last week.
Yeah.
And I mean, so some people were saying he was young. He was younger. And people at the bridge said he was younger. He was taller. He was athletic. This guy, Richard Allen was 5'5", or is 5'5". I don't think athletic could be used to describe him. He's, people say I'm in shape. Round is the shape. That's the kind of shape he's in.
Yeah, I have to say, did he do it? Maybe. Did he confess 61 times? But we talked about that.
Well, we're going to talk about that here in a minute, because yes, he did, but and to me, a lot of that can be discounted. Maybe not all of it, but yeah,
maybe
some people said he was.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I believe he also confessed on the phone to his wife a few times.
Confessed to his wife, confessed to his mom, confessed to the psychologist. But so now, like I said, the artist sketch shows two different people. Those are two different people in that sketch. And now it looks like the first one, he does resemble that one.
Yeah.
But,
not 90%, maybe 70, 80%.
Right.
He could pass for that, but could he pass for the second one? I think not.
Correct. I know. I agree. And I apologize to anybody in the chat room. I haven't acknowledged anybody, only because I had Bree in my arms, and it was very hard to, I wouldn't have been able to write and hold on to the crime pup at the same time. So I apologize for that. I'll try to do a little bit better now. But, the other thing, Brittany, is no DNA evidence was ever found.
Right.
Right. And this was the thing that I still don't understand. And the state, now the burden of proof in a case like this is on the state, not the defense.
Right.
The burden of proof is on the state. Now, the state did not disclose, the defense actually brought this up, that someone plugged a jack into Libby's phone after 5 o'clock. Now, I believe she filmed Bridge Guy at 2:13. Her phone stopped moving at 2:32. So this is almost 3 hours later. Somebody plugged a jack into her phone. That would be, I think that's significant. Who plugged that jack into her phone?
Who did that? Where?
Right.
And where? Where did that happen? Where did they track the phone to when it was plugged in?
Right.
It obviously wasn't plugged in on the bridge or on a trail.
All right, I'm gonna try to make amends for Rebecca Ann, who I've never seen you before, Rebecca Ann. Welcome to True Crime. And she says that video of the so-called bridge guy has been manipulated by the police. The other picture of Abby is fake. It was never taken on that bridge. Interesting. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say before. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he wasn't there, and I'm not saying that he didn't do it, but I am speculating that I think that they are framing this case to fit a certain narrative. I think this town desperately needs closure from and rightly so, because this is horrible. 14-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl get murdered like that, day before Valentine's Day. And this town has been grieving for almost 8 years. They need closure, and I think for today they got closure, or for on Monday they got closure. I don't know that this is over by any means, but we'll get into that as well. Now I think the state actually introduced two calls. There was 3 phone calls made on one day where Allen confessed, and 2 of them the state introduced into evidence, where he confessed his guilt, but there was a third where he professed his innocence. They did not introduce that call, and I believe the judge would not let them. And I think that's very significant.
Very.
Because then, now you got somebody confessing twice and then saying, I didn't do it. So, so how much weight can you attach to those first 2 calls?
Well, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody's changing their mind, you know, two yeses and a no, or two no's and a yes. I mean, come on.
and Jimmy Jam, I totally agree with you. Closure should be convincing the right person / people, not throwing an innocent person in prison. I don't know that the guy is innocent, but I think with the evidence that they had, I don't think they had enough evidence to convict him. And I agree. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I really think they were trying to fit a narrative um, um, to try to get some closure. But I don't know that that's going to work. I think I think in the end it's going to backfire. Um, the other thing I had, Brittany, give me 1 second here. Let me look at my notes. Um, so the state actually objected to the defense's introduction of videos from the Westville Correction Center. The judge agreed to enter them, but only the jury was allowed to view them. But I mean, and let's get back to that though. I mean, why was this guy in a correction facility for 13 months and in solitary confinement for quite a long time?
Exactly. I'm wondering if he was one of those crazy criminals that, spits at the guards and, tries to harm them, or tries to attack them, tries to bump up against them. I think I read somewhere, or saw somewhere, that he had a spit hood on a few times when he was being transported.
They showed him being dragged around. They showed him sometimes with a black cloth or a hood covering his head. I mean, I thought in this country he was innocent until proven guilty. That hardly seems like treatment you do an innocent man.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's doing something to the guards,
Right,
threatening them, spitting on them, um, you know, because obviously that would, yeah, they do put those spit hoods on people.
right,
Or sometimes, some places have shields, some prisons have shields, some just call them spit hoods. Um, I'm wondering if that's the case. Is he different than what he's being depicted?
right,
And they're just not telling us that he is a violent, crazy guy behind bars.
but
What is he doing in solitary confinement for 13 months?
right.
Like you
And you're
said.
talking about a guy who, now keep this in mind, had zero criminal history, as far as I know. Now, if somebody in the chat room knows otherwise, please correct me. But zero criminal history. Um, had a, now I'm going to contradict myself at the end. Had a long term marriage, had a child, had a very stable job. But we also do know that sometimes, some serial killers. I'm thinking of Gary Ridgway, the Green River killer. Same
Mhm.
thing, long-term marriage, long-term job, had, married with kids, blah, 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 Mr. Stable. Um, but, killed 48 people that we know of, maybe more.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, this guy, like Rebecca Ann saying he's 5'4", Abby could have kicked his ass, you know, definitely not physically overwhelming. But again, if he did have a gun, that is kind of an equalizer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
I
he's
really think, I think that any of the confessions, the only thing, and we talked about this before, that I believe some of the evidence, if he got in discovery, he got some of the details of the crime scene. But the one thing I think that they really held on to was the fact that his theory of the van, that he saw the van, he was just going to sexually assault the girls. He sees the van, and then he decides to go the other way and kill him. But even that had controversy. The gentleman, I think his last name was Weber, that had that van, that lived on that road, that private road close to the bridge,
right.
left work at 2:02 and would have been at the scene right around the time that that he would bridge guy would have been there, that Richard Allen. But
Right.
in previous conversations, He said that I guess his job was to repair ATM machines, and that he was at an ATM machine, and he would not have been there.
Which is it?
Right.
You know, I mean, there's just so much. Again, getting back to what we keep saying, neither of us can believe that there was enough evidence to convict. We're not saying he didn't do it. We're just saying there wasn't enough evidence to convict.
Right. Yeah, Jimmy Jam is saying, I've always been hung up on his relatively clean criminal record. Seems like somebody that capable of committing this crime would have at least some previous criminal history. And
definitely,
you know, a lot of these guys like Gary Ridgway, I mean, I believe that he did have a couple of brushes with the law, you know, the Green River Killer, before he actually finally got caught. And I don't know. That one I've always struggled with, because it seems like some of these guys, they can hide in plain sight. The Dennis Rader, the BTK guy, the guy from Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, he murdered 10 people over a period of 19 years, I think it was. And the only reason why he got caught is he screwed himself. He wrote a letter. I think they sent an email, I believe, from the church that he was a deacon of, and I guess somehow they found the IP address where it came from, and they found out that he was the deacon, and that's how they caught him. So
crazy, but I mean, there are people that, I mean, another good example is John Wayne Gacy. Look what he did. He was married. He had a job. I think he was in like a
John Gacy, I think, owned his own construction company.
Yeah.
And he was the local JCs. I think he was somewhere. I think he was in Indiana also, or was he Illinois? One of the states, either Illinois or Indiana. But he was named by the JCs, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, as like Young Executive of the Year.
And I mean, and he went and he dressed up as a clown and gave out balloons and twisted them all up and gave them as gifts. And look what he did. His wife had absolutely no idea what he was doing. And I believe I read and heard that Bridge Guy's wife almost passed out in court.
Oh, really? That I didn't. Yeah. That was another. We all watched the Karen Reed. I can't tell you how many hours I watched that trial. Same thing with Sarah Boone. I watched that for hours every day. We couldn't do that with this case. The judge would not. I think her name was Frances Gull. Judge Gull would not allow cameras into the courtroom. So we had to just rely on court TV and news recaps, and that's how we couldn't really see this stuff firsthand. So everything we didn't have that same personal observation that we did with the other trials that we've covered. But remember the Montreal screw job when Vince McMahon said Brett screwed Brett, and thus establishing the Mr. McMahon heel character. I have to say that didn't Richard Allen screw Richard Allen? Because if he didn't make that phone call saying, "Oh yeah, I was there," are we even here tonight?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think was that? I wonder why he did that. Why did he do that? Was that like, was he secretly, confessing, or not really confessing, but
hoping to get caught?
Yeah.
Could he not live with the guilt? Did he want to turn the investigation pointed his way? Is that what he was trying to do, or was he trying to get himself excluded?
Right. Oh, Lisa Gooden, good point. Yes, John Wayne Gacy had already spent time in prison for abusing boys, and I think he actually got out. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa. didn't he get out for good conduct? He was like, I think he had like a 10-year sentence, and he got out like in 3 years.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and then he just went to the next level. He went from abusing boys to killing them.
Killing them. Oh my God. Isn't that awful? Oh, I
Yeah.
had no idea he did. Oh my God.
Yeah, so Lisa's saying they asked for anybody who had been there to call. It's called being a good citizen.
Right.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if you have nothing to hide, absolutely. And maybe,
Right.
that could be used as, a factor pointing to that he didn't do it. Why would he do that? If you did it, why would you call and say, yeah, I was at the park?
Exactly. And knowing that you have a cap, like the guy in the photos had, or sketches, video, had a cap. He has a cap at his house. Why didn't he throw that out? Why didn't he get rid of it, a state away, several towns away, burn it out somewhere, Why
Right.
have that coat, those jeans, that hat? And why have a gun that is going to match what was at the scene?
Correct. We got a very lively chat here with a lot of questions. Jimmy Jam 74, why did it take so long for law enforcement to suspect him after he admitted he was there? Now, I hopefully got this right. I guess his inquiry was misfiled and was lost. I mean, they could have questioned him that day, the next day. It got misplaced for almost 6 years.
Unbelievable.
Which is horrible. I mean, that's some bumbling police work there. But yeah, I believe that's what happened. They did not act on it right away, which you would think that would they would have been there within minutes.
You would think, but look at the way these departments run. It's quite amazing, the things that I read and see and hear.
Yeah, badass American saying Alan had a tablet and phone privileges and showers and a TV, which he refused, and had 4 meals a day. That's interesting. That I did. Now they did say that in this Indiana State policeman Harshman listened to 700 phone calls, which, I mean, if you're in solitary confinement, that's a lot of phone calls.
It's a lot of phone calls.
Right? I mean,
I don't think I've had 700 phone calls in the last 5 years.
yeah. Well, no, not me. I'm the exact opposite. I probably do 700 a day, or it seems that way anyway. But I mean, I work with the public, and I'm always getting calls and making calls and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that is a lot of phone calls. I mean, that kind of belies, you make the argument that the guy's in solitary, you're right. And I'm thinking of being in a 4x6 cell and it's pitch black, and some of the people in the chat room are painting a little bit of a different picture that, the guy had access to TV. I mean, he obviously, if you made 700 phone calls, I mean, you they had to be checking on you constantly. Hey, Richard, you need to use the phone, right? I mean, so he wasn't by himself.
No, and I thought solitary was all but an hour or 2 a week that you're in there.
Right.
And they just pass you your meals. That's what I thought solitary was. Has that changed too? I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm trying to. I just heard that Richard Allen turned in his phone to law enforcement back around the time he spoke to the DNR to report he was on the bridge. Now that I do not know. That would be very interesting, because that would have. I mean, they could have traced all his activity, right, based on where his phone pinged.
Definitely.
And if they could have got him on the phone on the bridge at the time that the girls were that Libby took that picture, well, then he's toast.
Absolutely.
But I mean,
So then I could see a guilty verdict.
right. But then, in defense of him, then, I mean, nobody's that honest. If he, I mean, that if you did it, you're handing your phone over, you're pretty much signing your death warrant right there.
Definitely.
And if they did have his phone and they found nothing, boy, oh boy, they need some retraining there.
Big time. Whoa.
It's really, it's really, I mean, somebody said that the trial cost $4 million. I have to say, there's a local station from, I think it was an Indianapolis station that covered it. And I can't remember the call letters now. I wish I could. But I do remember that there was, and anybody in the chat room that's in from the Indianapolis area, the gentleman's name was Bob Siegel or Segal. I think Siegel, Segall. And he covered the case, the whole trial. The guy was absolutely, that's what I watched every night. I watched his recap. And there was a young lady with him. I can't remember her name. But they did such a good job. I did some research on him, and the guy has won awards wherever. Like, he's been a newsman for a long time, for like 25 years,
Wow.
and he's won awards everywhere. But they did such an outstanding job that, I mean, I almost felt like I was in the courtroom. They really did a great job. It was like an hour a night, and that's where that was my source of where I got it. But they mentioned, excuse me, that Alan's mom, and I actually saw it though, as she left, she said, "This isn't over." So I think that we have not seen the last of this trial by any means.
I agree. And I'm sure his whole family and coworkers and friends all feel the same way as what his mother said. This isn't over because you're not pinning this on him.
Somebody's saying, I can't wait for the appeals to happen, and how Alan was treated like a dog. Yeah, I mean, prisoners he wasn't really a prisoner. He should have been jailed up until the time of the trial, and then you get convicted, then you go to prison. I mean, I really think that, so the sentencing is on the 20th of December.
Yes.
What do you think he's going to get, Brittany? And now, it was not tried as a death penalty case, so that's off the table.
Right. I believe he'll probably get life without parole.
Yeah, I agree. They were speculating about that because
gone.
it was, the fact that he has no previous criminal history. But I think something this egregious, I think you can throw that out the window. I mean, you're talking about a 14 and a 13-year-old girl who won't have any life. I do believe that, but I do believe that immediately upon sentencing, there will be an appeal. And
I agree 100%.
Yeah, and I would bet I'd almost offer to shave my head, which is that's like I can't even fathom that, but I would offer to shave my head if he was not granted a new trial and that his conviction was overturned. There's just too many things that the judge, like, for example, not letting in that third phone call that day, when this prosecution played the two calls of him professing his guilt, and then the third one when he said, "I didn't do it," and she did not allow that call into admission. Right there, I would think would be a grounds for a new trial.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that the confessions will all be suspect because given his circumstances.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree, and it makes no sense to me. Just like we talked about last week, why was he in the conditions that he was in for all that time? That's not how it works usually. What is so different about this case?
Yeah, we're getting conflicting. And Rebecca Ann saying he was consistently being watched 24/7. He had no human contact other than the guards from outside the door, and his psychiatrist for 13 months. But I'm hearing that somebody else said he had access to a tablet. He obviously had access to a phone. If he made all those phone calls, he had to have constant interaction with somebody to get that phone.
Well, or the lawyer could have got him that phone, but who's to say if he really did? 'Cause like you said, we have conflicting information, so which is correct? It either he had no contact for 13 months and it was like the old days, like, you only had 2 hours a week to go out and walk around outside, with heavily guarded, obviously, or do you have a tablet? Do you get to make 700 phone calls? Do you get visits? I don't, it's going to be one or the other.
Right. And the funny thing was though is that, and I think I mentioned it last week. I thought, initially I thought, well, man, this guy did it. And when I started following that local news station, and in the comments, I would say it was like maybe 70% thought that he was being railroaded. So it's not just us that are speculating that. A lot of people think that, based on the evidence, there's just not enough there.
Right. I think you made a really good point where I think time-wise for the community and the families, they were like, let's wrap this up. And like somebody said in the chat room, and like we've said too, that's not right. You don't, it's great to get it wrapped up. God knows after all this time it should be, but at the expense of somebody that didn't do it, no. Because then there's somebody still out there that can do it again.
Yeah, there's some discussion in the chat room. Some people are saying he was sent to the prison for medical reasons. And then Rebecca Ann saying he was sent to prison so he could go crazy. I mean, I know that if I was in solitary, I probably within a month, I'd confess to everything. I confess to eating the apple in the Garden of Eden. I mean, you name it, right? Because I'm sure it breaks you. I mean, the prisoners of war, they've confessed. You torture somebody enough, you're gonna break even the strongest guy. And this guy does not look like. I mean, he looks like a fairly, what do they used to call him? Casper Milk Toast back in the day. Remember that expression? Do I have it right?
Something similar to that, I believe.
I think no, that's what I used to like back in the day. Like, just like, home with his wife and, mild-mannered guy,
Yeah.
watches, has his dinner, watches TV, goes to
The
bed.
vanilla guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
I
just
don't know.
vanilla, just the average dad in the neighborhood, husband, pharmacy worker, co-worker, friend, right? He's the average guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you look at that one of those photos of him with those piercing eyes, it was almost like he was doing the Manson eyes.
Yeah, but again, like I would, wonder when was that picture taken? I mean,
right.
Was that taken after 7 days of no human interaction? I mean, I don't think I'd look much better than that. I don't look much better than that now, So yeah, I don't know.
No,
I mean, everything is in context. The other thing is, I mean, it seems like the people in this chat room have been great tonight, and thank you all for a lot of great information. That even as much as I follow the trial, I'm learning a lot from you guys. But the defense, and this might be another point that they're going to raise upon appeal, they did not get to present their Odinistic theory. I guess let me throw this up there. I guess they're saying that they're speculating that, based on how the killing was done, there's an Odinistic group, the Sons of Odin or something like that, that they thought could be responsible, and they were not allowed. Let me get that off the stage to present that, which, I mean, it really seems bizarre and far fetched. But that was something that right from the get-go that the defense said that it could be, and they were not even allowed to present that. It's the Sons of Odin. Oh, okay. So Rebecca Ann, are you in Delphi? Yeah. And they're in Kokomo as well as in Lafayette. Okay. But yeah, that was something else that they were not allowed to even use that as a possible alternative. So there was a lot of things that they were not allowed to present.
Yeah, that's very strange, because if they had any proof of this group, and I mean, they couldn't even come forward and explain what the group was. And was there any type of proof whatsoever that the person that did it belonged to that group?
Yeah.
Nobody even got to hear any of it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Oh,
So
welcome to Jenny 8675309. Say hello to Tommy Two-Tone for me. That was a great song. Remember that?
I know.
867. Yeah, I mean, what a chat room tonight, and informed people, and it sounds like a couple of locals there. But I mean, for a case that occurred like in mid America in a very, very small town, I mean, this thing has really grabbed the attention of the entire country.
No kidding.
And I hadn't heard. I think I maybe was it Dave that brought it up to us. I had never even heard of it.
It was Dave. Yeah,
it was Dave. All right, we miss you, Dave. Come back, please.
We do miss you, Dave. I don't even know if he's home from work yet.
Poor Dave. He works too hard.
I'm
going to win the Powerball. I'm going to retire Dave. I guess.
There you go.
I got people I want to retire. I mean, that's, do you want to be retired too, Brittany?
Absolutely. Why
all
not?
Right, okay. I'll add you guys to the list. What the hell?
Awesome. And you're added to mine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not that far away anyway, but yeah, I mean, I had never heard of it, but again, once you guys, I hadn't heard of Karen Reed either, but man, the minute I watched I started watching the hearings, I was hooked. It was like crack.
Hooked. Same with me. And I probably live closer to the crime scene than Dave does, but where I don't read the newspaper and refuse to watch the news, and this is my whole life, I've done this, I didn't even know her name. He brought it up to me. He said, you and Benny should, because he was watching us, right? And I said, who? And he said, oh, come on, Brittany, you don't know. And I said, no, I have no idea who you're talking about. And then whenever he sent me a link, that was it. And I think I sent it to you. And that was it. Both of us were like, oh, God.
That was a great call. And Phil, the president, I mean, he was, not only did he, was he on with us, but he went to the courthouse a couple of times. I guarantee you, if I lived around there, I would have been right there with him.
Yep. And then Dave stopped by there too, the house. He stopped by the house where he was killed. Wow. And took photos. Sent me the photos.
Well, I understand that she was back in court the other day, and Phil was saying that the next trial might start in January. January
is what I heard as well. I just can't believe the same judge is going to be trying it.
Oh, what's her name? Bev. I can't. Cannoni, right?
Beverly Cannoni.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean,
shocked.
Yeah, I really think she should recuse herself.
I totally agree. Under the circumstances, she should have been recused the first time, in my opinion.
I
But
wonder if we'll get the return of Skeletor. What's her name? Jennifer McCabe.
oh my God.
She was very unlikable.
Uh,
I
she
mean, a lot
proved
of a lot
to
of a lot
be
of the witnesses for the state were very unlikable.
very, very. What a group of people. I'm glad they're not my friends.
Yet the I can't remember the guy's name. The Zamboni driver. Man, that guy was an ace.
Oh, I know it.
So
My
yeah,
God. Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
we have that to look forward to. So yeah,
Definitely.
so I guess we can wrap this one up. I mean, maybe we'll
Yeah.
do an update once they do the sentencing. Um,
Oh, definitely. We should plan to that week, and then we can tell everybody what we're planning for next Monday.
right. So next Monday is Pam Smart.
Pamela Smart.
So, Brittany, can you give like a little summation? I think you probably know that one a little bit more than I do. I've heard of it. I did, I've seen a couple of true crime shows on her, but is she kind of like from your neck of the woods?
So New Hampshire, right over the
Okay.
Mass line in New Hampshire, and she was a teacher, a very young, pretty teacher, and had a sexual and multiple sexual encounters with a young boy student,
We're talking
and
like
that
15, like weren't they like 15? They were kids,
yes,
right? I mean,
yep,
okay.
yep, 15, 16 years old. She became friendly with a young girl that also, hung in that little group of um, where the person that murdered her husband hung, and they were students of hers. And I believe his name was Billy. I forget his last name, William
Yes.
something, but he
And
killed her
the
husband.
husband was Greg, right? Or Gregory.
Yep. Yep. And so the student she was having this sexual affair with killed her husband. And of course, she got life in prison. She is still in prison. He is out. And I believe, I'm not positive, I haven't checked yet, but I'm planning on it this week. I believe everyone else involved in that case that did any time has since been released. She's the
Okay.
only one in prison.
Well,
And
I could
there's actually a
understand that though. I
Facebook
mean,
page. What's that?
no, I said I can understand that. I mean, she was the mastermind, and she was the only
Yeah,
adult. They
right,
were kids,
right.
very
She's trying to say she had nothing to do with it, though, that he
yeah.
did it on his own.
Hmm.
And she shouldn't have been in jail at all. And of course, her mother stands behind her and has a free Pam Smart Facebook page. And if you go on and say anything at all, you get banned, you get called every name in the book.
Really
Um,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up. And like you said, we will be doing this for a long time because boy, is there a lot of stuff out there.
Well, I told Mike, I said, we were talking to Mike earlier. I said, when you think about it, the first homicide in the world, if you believe in the Bible, happened when the population of the world was only 4, right? So that's how long there's been true crime. And
Yeah,
that was a couple of thousand years ago. If we lived 2,000 more years, we'd still be doing this show, and there'd still be new material every week because we're never
exactly.
going to run out of stuff. I mean, we have a lot of other things planned. I think we're gonna, we'll hopefully get back on Karen Reed once that starts in January. Got a couple other
Definitely.
names. We besides Pam Smart.
Yep.
Who else were we talking about? I can't think. Her name was Judd, right? Well, I can't think of her first name.
Oh, I think we decided we weren't going to do that because
Oh,
it was so old,
okay, that's right. That's
that
right.
case. But I would like to do John Wayne Gacy. And then we
Yes,
did talk a little about Gypsy Rose Blanchard
yeah,
too,
that's another. Yeah,
because that is so very controversial, and it still is. It
yeah,
still is.
yeah.
So we'll see.
And anybody in the chat, if you have any ideas of cases that you'd
Yeah.
like to see covered, again, there's just so many to pick from. We could
Oh
be doing
yeah.
this. I mean, if I lived to be 183 and Brittany was 123, we'd still have stuff to cover.
We would.
I mean, it's sad, but it's a fact of life.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
I mean, what it would be what a great world it would be if, you and I said, Brittany, I said, Brittany, we have to think of something else to talk about because there's no more true crime to cover.
Yeah.
Then we could talk
Yeah.
about recipes or something like that, or how to make a Long Island iced tea.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
Or you could tell
I've
stories
got
about
some,
training under Killer Kowalski. I mean we'd have good stuff to talk about.
we could change the topic every week. We
Yeah.
could go homemade peanut butter cups to charcuterie boards to Killer Kowalski to superstar Billy Graham to Hulk Hogan. Gosh, we could just do everything.
Yep.
We
Yep.
could even do like a car repair segment. But wouldn't it be nice to not have to do true crime?
I could even eat like 10 cans of Spam as a challenge, like on air live.
Oh,
It's really funny. I watched. His name is Scott Watkins. His YouTube name is Scott Eats, and really nice guy from Canada. We actually had him on Dan and Benny, and I mean the guy does absolutely incredible feats of eating like I've never seen. But he had his new video tonight was with him and his family in his backyard, and they were eating a fish called, I don't know if you ever heard of it, surströmming.
no.
It's SURSTROMMING. It is the stinkiest fish. I've seen other competitive eaters try to eat it, and the minute they open the can, it's like when you go fishing and you like when a chum slick. It both looks and smells like that, apparently.
God. Oh my God. Now you're talking to someone that won't allow anyone to bring tuna fish into her home.
Oh, then no,
because I get physically ill.
You don't even want to be in the same town as a can of surströmming.
Nope.
But yeah, and he's got 3 little adorable little girls, and they all tried it as well. And even his girlfriend, he did it. It was not very pleasant. I mean, thankfully nobody threw up, but there was a lot of gagging going on. So I'm not going to do that, but I might try the 10 cans of Spam.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That would be, yeah.
I have never even seen that or smelled. I've seen the can in the store. I've never seen what Spam looks like. I've never smelled it. I have no idea, but just the can, the picture on the can looks disgusting.
Well, it's really funny. When my middle son Dan lives in Minneapolis. I lived there for 4 years, and and I go back to visit occasionally. And there's a oh God, what is it called? I'm thinking of Stone Cold. It's called the Stone Arch Grill, which is right close to the Delta terminal. So I always, if I have time, well, I can't go on a plane without some liquid courage. So I'm always there for, it'll be 6:05 a.m. and I'm pounding down beers. But I usually try to get some food with it. And you get a menu, and there is on the breakfast menu is some kind of Spam, fried Spam. And I asked the server, I said, nobody eats this, do they? She said, it's our biggest selling item.
You've got to be kidding me.
That's what I said. The exact same words. You got to be kidding.
I have never seen that on a menu anywhere. But like I said, I don't even know anybody that eats it. Ever. I've never met anybody.
Yeah, I badass American, love sardines and mustard. Now I'm sardines. I'm right there with you. And love salmon and tuna steaks. Yep, you're in my wheelhouse now. Yeah, no, I think, but the surströmming, it's like literally raw sewage in a can.
Oh God.
So yeah, no, I won't do that one. I would try the Spam, but anyway, let's say goodnight to these nice people. Miss Brittany, got any final words there?
Well, just that I am surprised, a little bit disappointed because of the way that the trial ended up. I don't think they had enough evidence to convict, so I'm a little, disappointed that maybe it is possible that somebody that's innocent has been convicted. That's all I can say.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I said, the Karen Reed trial, I mean, from the when I started, the minute I started listening to Alan Jackson, I'm thinking like, there is no way that this man is going to let this woman get convicted.
Right.
And we were right. I mean, it is a hung jury. I guarantee if they go to trial again, I don't imagine it being any different. I mean, either she's going to get, off, charged not guilty, or it's going to be another hung jury, and they're going to get tired of trying this thing.
Yeah.
I don't see her. You see her getting convicted ever?
No, I don't. I don't, but I have to tell you, I was 99.9% sure there wouldn't be a hung jury either, because it was so clear to me that this was a setup.
Right. I just thought
So
that I thought the prosecution had an agenda, and yeah,
definitely.
I really did think it was going to be hung. I just was sure that she was not going to be found guilty.
Right.
I thought 50, maybe, I thought more that it was going to be a hung jury, or that she was going to be not guilty. There's no way she was going to be guilty.
Right.
Sarah Boone, 100%.
Oh,
She was guilty.
yeah.
This one, I would say, to me, 95% to me was going to be hung jury. They
Right.
were, not enough evidence, and I
Me
was
too.
very surprised. And yeah, I agree with his. I think it was his wife that said it. Alan's wife. I don't know if I said mother earlier, but that this isn't over. This is not over. He'll be sentenced. There'll be an appeal. I really believe that it'll be, the trial, his conviction will be vacated, and we're going to do this all over again.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. So, all right, guys, for the Boston Bad Girl, this is the Playa. And again, thank you to the chat room. You guys need to all come back. There's a lot of new names here.
Yeah.
Grismatically, Jenny 8675309. Who can I turn to, Jenny? There's Jason, Jace Thomas, just badass American guys. Come back. We you were great tonight, and so good night, guys, and see you next crime.
Thank you.